All right. Right now, I want to talk a little bit about the debates last night, the political debates, and it was a basically Biden and Trump. Anybody listens to this, because I never know these videos. They are on the internet forever, so it could be whole new guys. But there was a debate last night, and I thought it was very revealing, very interesting. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched the highlights. But the highlights were pretty clear, what happened during that debate. And I love debates. I love debates because debates are a chance where more truth can come out during a debate than almost any other, short presentation. Debates are great. They really are. I debated. I was on a debating team when I was in high school, college. And I really learned, I love debates. A lot of my thinking and kind of like ability to reason came from debating, came from, being a good debater. I won pretty much. I can't even remember if I ever lost. I won every debate. And people will say, and often, you might even think, oh, he's a great debater. No. That is not at all the truth. I am not a great debater. What I do is figure out the truth, okay? And then I pick that side. That's what I do. So I cheat. I am not, I don't have a narrative as a person. I figure out what is true. That is my whole thing. So a lot of people, they have their kind of opinion and they really hold on to it, right? Like that's their opinion, right? Is it this or that? For me, I am always ready to say, "Oh my gosh, I was wrong. That company has gone to shit." Or that guy that seems so this is actually, you can see now that he's got a lot of that, and my brain can handle that gray area. And also, I just love the truth. That is really what this whole podcast is about. Ronin Man is about the truth. That's really what I'm interested in. It's not, and again, when I say that, people will think, oh, he thinks he knows the truth. No, I'm finding the truth. That is my whole, is like seeing things that don't make sense, sensing like a detective. Wait, something's wrong with this story here, something is what rotten in Denmark, something's not going on here. And then digging in and figuring out and looking at people's faces and like finally figuring out, well, what's really going on here, right? And that really is fucking what we are doing here. It's like the best idea wins, the truth wins. And I want the truth to win. I want to figure I can handle any truth. That is my basic perspective. I don't care how, whatever it is, I fucking want to hear it. I want to understand what's going on. Okay? I want to fully comprehend and be able to discern at a moment's notice when things have changed and what's going on. And that's why I was good at debating, because it wasn't because I could debate. It was because I had already debated in my mind before the debate. Like my mind had been debating ideas. I don't hold on to ideas. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, oh, because I'm from this country, or I'm from this place, or religion, or family. I'm always like, whenever, I'm not saying I've never done it in my life. My brain can be lazy too, sometimes. And I can have a stupid idea. But then I talk to somebody and, like a friend, if I talk to my buddy in Bangkok, or like I have certain friends that I think they're just super smart. And I will tell them an idea and they will just look at me and say, oh, I don't think that's true at all. I think this. And, I love them because they have an ability to see the truth a higher capacity, a greater capacity than most people. And those are the guys I want around me. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. That's really what every single video I make, and also at the summits. I'm like, that's why I might dig into somebody, like somebody says something and I dig in. It's because I believe that is the best thing for them. And it's the best thing for me, is to figure it out, accept everything, right? And figure out there's always like way more options that you think you have. There's way more good things in there. That's why people are scared of the truth, because they're like, oh, it's going to all fall apart. But sometimes like when things fall apart is really, truly a good thing, like, a very, bad relationship can break up, or somebody can, even in my, anybody who does let's say drinks too much, or, something like that. And then they reach a point where they see that this is not good for them and they're willing to change. Then they go into a process where they're kind of like have to look at life totally differently. And I love that. I'm always kind of thinking like, not only what is the truth, but what is truth about me? What's truth about me today? Because my age, I change and you change. And it's like important to say, wait, where am I today? Who am I today? Because you're not the same person. When I go around, when I go around in my life, and you don't even have the same motivations, right? So for me, like even like picking up women, like I'm just not interested in right now, and maybe I never will be again. I was very, very interested in when I was younger, but I'm not now. And so I could do it. But if I look at myself honestly and say, why? I'm not, the reason why you do something is because you want to do it. It's not because you can, oh, I can do this. I'm going to go do this. It's like, what do you want? What do you need now? What do you want? Like, and then to be honest with that, that's where happiness comes from. The closest thing to happiness, like a plant, it just reaches up towards the sun, right? I think when you follow who you really are, you're happy. You feel that is happiness, because you're really doing what is needed at the time. And there's a sense of like, yeah, that was the best choice. Fuck yeah. You know what I mean? That's actually where I'm at today. That's where I want to go. So it's not just in politics or whatever. It's in our own lives, like the never-ending search for where you are, who you are, what you want, what you should do, what's true. And of course, outside world, like who's telling the truth, and what narrative or what story or what, breaking down these perfectly crafted, because not everybody's like us. A lot of people, they don't value the same things, right? So there are people who don't value the truth at all, really. There's a lot of people who basically, I don't know, I can think of like a certain type of guy who he knows that he's not good at something, right? Let's say, he's very deficient in many skills to be a doctor, and he's causing injury to people, but that makes him money. And he just doubles down. Let's say he's got the right degrees, he's got everything. And he's just like, I am a doctor from Harvard and I am this. But he knows, that it's not true. And he basically builds a false life around that. Instead of just saying, I suck at this. I wasted all this time in school and I fucking suck and I hate it. And it's not good for people. And, and just accepting a brutal truth, right? Which could in my mind, very easily lead to good things, actually. Where he says, who am I? What do I want to do? Sometimes you're raised by parents who push you in a certain direction. And when you figure out that's not you, I'm not saying you should quit everything like me. Like I do. I'm going to quit. There's no fucking way. Once I figure things out, I am on the road to another path. That's it. I'm turning. But I'm not saying you have to. Like a lot of people just don't have that takes a lot of fucking fortitude to change that much, something that big. And you might have a lot of bills and I'm willing to let everything crash personally. But if you're not, that's totally fine too. What you choose is what you choose. I just kind of present who I am and how I think. And it's up to you to say what part. And also too, you're just hearing these episodes, right? You're not, if we were living together and going through all the questions and seeing each other, you might actually be misunderstanding some of my concepts too, right? So, definitely don't do anything foolish, But if, for example, like some people would say, well, I'm not good at this. I don't like this. But, this is a great way to make money, and I'm going to build a life with the full knowledge and acceptance that this sucks and I don't want to do this, but I can just bank cash, and then, 6 years later, I'm going to retire and, go hang out, go, go on summits around the world and just cruise. Or I'm going to go get a fucking beautiful house in Japan, or I'm going to go do, something totally cool, right? Everybody's got their different, kind of hybrid systems for dealing with something once you accept it. The key thing is acceptance. So let's get back to the debates. So basically, people for a long time have been saying that Biden is unstable on his feet, and there's been a lot of videos about that. And his press secretary, Jean, whatever her name is, she was saying that's fake news, that's dishonest, and these videos are AI. They were, but there's a point where I don't know Biden myself, right? So we don't really know what's true, right? I mean, you think they're real because you're like, oh, it looks like he's falling down, but he's falling all the time, and that is a guy falling down, right? It's AI hasn't gotten that good. So like, wait a second, some of those videos are true, but that also too, they could be edited where, everybody falls down. Like I guess in my life, I've fallen down, right? If there was a video of just all me falling down, I'm sure that I could be, presented as somebody who has, problems or whatever, and dishonestly, very dishonestly, right? Because I have great balance, and when I do fall, I have really good ability to properly land on the ground, properly roll, and all these things that you have to do that I learned actually from skateboarding, how to fall, right? How to fall down without getting hurt, right? And if you look at Biden when he's falling, it's just this total train wreck. Like, it's just like he's all stiff and it's like the worst. He's not like a skateboarder. And I have friends that are skateboarders, ex-skateboarders that are his age, and they still fall like skateboarders. Like, they just kind of roll. They don't do this stiff arm fucking bullshit because they know how to fall. That guy's unathletic, old, decrepit, unstable, physically, physical person. And we saw that, or we thought we saw that, but like I say, it could have been fake, right? But, and the what I'm trying to say here is that we have been lied to. Okay, now it sounds very simple. I think that should matter. I think it was very obvious who that guy was last night. He is, he obviously has some form of, I don't know if it could, whatever word is going to be the correct term, but his brain is fucked. Okay, he's not in a good state. He's not just an old man. Okay, that's the thing. Everybody gets old. We know his age. We know when he was born, but he's not all there, and that's pretty obvious. What am I saying? That's like blatantly obvious in the debate. But I don't think that's the important part. That's not what I want to talk about. Because everybody, you might get dementia. I mean, we don't know, right? That's not like a big shocker. The shocker to me is the press secretary and the people around him. There was a video I saw on, and it was like everybody saying that the same words. They said Biden is very sharp. He might do this, but he's very sharp. He has a very sharp grasp of, and it was like all these people, and I'm sure you can find the video of that sharp thing and narrative. And they had decided, I mean, it was so obvious that the media, the political machine of the Democratic Party had decided that the word sharp was a word that resonated. It was the best. That's one thing about Americans. They're so good at marketing. Like, in the marketing, Biden, right? And it's one of the problems. Like, Europeans, Australians, Asians, they're not as good at marketing as Americans. It's terrible in a way, because sometimes can be good if they have a good product, but when you're good at marketing, you can like really twist people. It's like, fuck, I dread the American marketing system. It's so effective, but they're marketing that guy is a certain way, right? And I think that there's a line in life. I think that there's politics, okay, but there's a line. Okay, so for example, you work and you're not allowed to leave your desk, right? What about on 9/11? The building's on fire. You have a few minutes to get out. What about like in Fukushima, the earthquake happens? So, of course, and you kind of know, oh yeah, of course I can leave my desk, right? It depends on the situation. There are exceptions, right? And everything has a line. Everything has a line. And it's fine to present people as, I guess, their best side, But I think there's a criminal line. There's a line where, whether it's criminal code or it's criminal to me, there's a line that is an inhumane line to cross. Where, in history, when it's crossed with a leader like Biden, there has been times where the president or prime minister, whoever it was of the country, was actually dead, and he was still prime minister. And there was a bunch of kind of backdoor hustlers, power-hungry people running the country while the king was dead. And you can read about, in history, there was several of these type of situations. And it was some very, very manipulative people who didn't care like about the normal system. All they cared about was essentially taking control of society without the proper, like there's no, when the king is dead, okay, or when the prime minister is dead and they're pretending like he's alive, before the internet, this was possible, and before TV and all that video, that was very possible because these people didn't walk around. It was very easy to just say, oh, the king said this, and oh, he's not feeling well, and his wife gets up there and says, oh, he told me this morning, and then people were like, oh, okay, this is all very normal stuff, right? And nobody knew, nobody was aware that he was actually not there, and who was actually making the directives. So the problem is, when the king is dead and people are proclaiming what the king thinks, the problem is, it's not that the people are the worst people in the world. It's like when you're elected to something, right? When you rise up to being the king, even kings, there is competition for kings, with brothers, and there's tons of there's brutal battles to become the king, and the winner is the king, right? The guy who makes it, and the queen, and the king, and the prime minister, and through that process, you earn the right to be that guy. Okay. When you are not elected, you don't have the same appreciation. Nobody knows who you are. You're an unknown. You haven't proven yourself. You haven't fought the battles that you need to fight to get that position. Society accepts, and I accept, that there will be people that will be king and be president that don't deserve it. But they earned it. They earned it, and it can be taken away, okay? But if the king is not there and there's other people, it's a whole new, it's like a black hole, because who is actually in control, right? And also, too, the other thing, too, is anybody who knew the king was dead, they should be prosecuted, for sure. There is a line in society, and I don't care what political side you're on. There's a line where you are lying and seriously harming the country. And I think I personally think people in the Democratic Party who said he was sharp should go to jail. I know that's going to be, no, that guy is totally demented. Okay. He cannot speak. He doesn't know what he's saying. It's totally obvious. It all came out in the debate. He is not somebody you could discuss things with. Like if he was in your house, you just ignore him because it doesn't make any sense. He just rambles on about old things and says words that connects things that when he talks, and I think, Trump said it right. He said, well, at the end of that sentence, I don't really know what he said. And I don't think he knew what he said. And debate and what's his name? Biden just blankly, like really looked like he was just staring into the abyss. And I think it really, that was the note in the debate right there. It was just like, wow, that guy really is completely incapable of even doing the most basic things. Like he can't even talk. Like he has no capacity. Like there's no way you'd let him drive your car. There's no way. You'd be insane to let Biden drive your car, and you would never hire him to do any job, like just nothing. You wouldn't making the French fries at McDonald's. You wouldn't want him because he's going to drop it. He's going to spill. He's going to get confused. He's going to forget. He's going to, he's demented, right? His brain. And the only thing he could do, I guess, is like in some kind of a, whatever you call it, like a fundraiser, he could be at the front. Those, like, we did a fundraiser for a guy in Santa Cruz, and we had like kind of a table full of people that were kind of greeting people when they came. He would be fine for that. Something like that, where he just sits there and smiles, and it's obviously a good cause, and he just has to, oh, welcome, thank you, oh, welcome, how are you? Oh, thank you very much. Oh, okay. That kind of thing. He's capable of that. But I don't think it's the big issue is that he's not mentally fit. That's not really the issue. Because like I said, we all at some point are going to be mentally unfit. But what do we really learn from the debate? We learn from the debate that everything was not true. And I think now it's so obvious. Like we knew that he was unstable on his feet. We knew that he could not, there was a lot of tapes of him talking like this. But we were told they were untrue. We were told to not believe what we saw. And I think as a Ronin guy, it's very important. I really think it's very important to say, that is actually true. That guy actually can't speak. Like I thought he couldn't speak, and that man is incapable of holding conversation. His brain, he has dementia. That guy is totally fucked. I can still let him talk, and I can talk. We could, have a cup of coffee, and I can just ignore, kind of what he's saying. But I can't give him the code, like not just even the nuclear codes. You couldn't give Biden, for example, if he borrowed your bicycle and you just said, hey, what's the, like the passwords, 625353687. He couldn't remember it. Like there's no way. If he went to the garage and had to open the lock, that guy would never remember. He'd have to write it down or something, even then he'd forget where he wrote it down. And how is our society that way that the king is dead, right? He's not there. And we knew he was. And then we were told he wasn't by people that had power. So it really puts you in check because you're like, wait, this is a, press secretary. That's a high-level person, right? I'm just a regular guy, right? And she's like just looking you straight in the eye and making sense and just saying, that's where the evil lies. The evil doesn't lie in Biden. The evil lies in the people that knew that really were running the place. That took advantage. And they pushed all this stuff that women are men and all this stuff. All this stuff was pushed through when Biden was already dead. his brain was demented. He was vacant. And a bunch of power-hungry people came in and pushed a bunch of policies, and he just supported that were very, very bad for the society. And, even if you're European or whatever, you need a strong U.S. The strong U.S. does a lot of good things for freedom in the world. It does. I say a lot of bad things, but I know geopolitics. Geopolitics is my bag. That's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in U.S. politics or Chinese politics. Geopolitics. I think geopolitics is where politics between nations, that is the interesting thing for me. That's what I kind of confront with, and I'm interested. I'm not interested in like U.S. politics, but geopolitics. Those are interesting. The incredibly interesting and complex interactions between nations. That to me is a fascinating study. And so let's see, where was I going with that? So what else do we have to say after the debates? Like inside your own soul, because you're lied to so much. Sometimes you need to really just tell yourself, like, this is true. Like, what is fucking true here? You know what I mean? What is true? I would say the first thing is that everything that you were told about that guy is a lie. Is that his brain, he has dementia. He's not able to speak. He doesn't make sense. He's totally incapable of doing anything. He needs a caretaker. That guy is absolutely a lost cause, as far as any kind of responsibility. And that is the truth about Biden. It was totally obvious. And also, what else? Let's talk about the other truths that have come out recently about Biden last few years. The other thing that is, I can't believe no one's talking about, but Hunter Biden had a laptop, and in that laptop, there were emails, and he talked always about, he was corrupt. He's smoking crack, and he's with prostitutes, threatening people with guns. He's got, it's just crazy. He's like a crack whore. Okay. He's like, if you go to San Diego, I was in San Diego recently to get my new passport, and like, you see crack whores just screaming, and that's basically Biden, right? That's Hunter Biden. And when you have a crack problem, you need money. No matter how much money you have, you always need more money because you're going to lose it, right? People are going to rob you, and then you're going to be broke, and you're going to need more money. So guess what happens? People do things that they really regret when they're a drug addict, right? And so I'm not saying he's the worst guy in the world. Hunter Biden's a drug addict, and he had to do what he needed to do to get more drugs. Now, what did most people do? Most people that are drug addicts, let's say opiates, they're going to, I help people a lot who I go to speak at hospitals, and I've since 1987, May 23rd, 1987, I've been helping people get off drugs and alcohol. And what was a common story I hear? It's like guy, he gets into opiates and he will steal bicycles, things like that, and resell them, motorcycles, things like that, every day because he needs to get about $200 a day, right? So he's going to steal just enough to get $200 a day, trade to get enough of his drugs, right? And that's the way that he knows how to get your money. But Hunter Biden, because his dad was a big political figure, he had the capacity to get foreign governments to give him money. And it's obvious he worked out a deal with his dad to influence U.S. politics. So his drug addiction actually affected you and me. Who knows? I think we need to find out what kind of secrets were sold, because one thing about geopolitics is when you have a corrupt vice president's son, and then president's son, it is so bad. It is worse. This is the kind of truth that's painful once you really find out what was really sold. Like in the Cold War, there was people who sold just things that were priceless, that squandered the U.S. lead in certain technologies that would never, never come back. So when you sell secrets, like from when a high level person is a traitor, is corrupt, you have like just blood in the streets for the average guy, because everything that the country's worked on and the country's benefit, the benefits of being there and the benefits of, they're all gone. Like they just get sold, and then some other country knows, and they didn't earn it, and they can just undermine you with that. They understand the weaknesses in your best. You could have the best airplane in the world, but it's always got weaknesses. And if another country fully understands what those weaknesses are, the blind spots, they can basically kill everybody flying those in a war. Just because the secret, it's this chain of events that leads, and it doesn't. I don't know if you, like, a lot of people don't really think about really bad things happening, but when the wars happen, everything seems normal until a war happens. And then all of a sudden, everything that, was covered up comes out. So, but it doesn't come out unless there's a fighting war, right? There's bombs dropping, right? So a lot of the stuff that Biden and other guys sold for money, we don't know yet, but we will know. They will come out. And other times they're so devastating that we never find out, because they can be used by the other country as blackmail. You know what I mean? Like if there was an easy way to shoot down the U.S. carriers, and the U.S. Navy might not be able to afford admitting that. And so then they have to just bend, So they can be like just bent over, the whole Navy, because one top corrupt official sold information. It is the worst crime. It is like when you sell it to your enemy, it is that is like, I really think, because it hurts so many people, and so many people work so hard for that. And what I think is totally obvious, now it's time to talk about the truth, is that Hunter Biden was just a normal drug addict, but he had access to a guy who could really get shit done. And he called him the big man. And he gave 10% of all the bribes that he received. And the big man. And I just can't understand how America's got so weak that nobody can say, wait, who's the big man? Like, who is the big man in his emails? Like, the big man, okay, Hunter Biden, in Hunter Biden's emails, gets 10% of bribes from different, like, basically enemies of the U.S. Millions of dollars, millions and millions and millions, tens of millions. Probably, I forget the exact numbers. It's just like so insane. So the big guy, let's just talk about the truth now, finally. But finally, it's like it's okay to talk about the fact that guy can't walk, talk. He can't think. He can't run a country. Like, he's not running the country, okay? Biden is not the president. Okay, that's important to know. It's important for your kind of your nerves, because you knew it at some level, Biden's not the president. Like, the deep state has taken over. The deep state, people that are unelected, you don't know who they are, you don't know what they believe, you don't know if they're corrupt or not. You can be pretty sure they're corrupt, though. People that are not elected to things and don't have any responsibility, they get pretty corrupt. The reason why we're good people is because we had parents who said no. There was cops who would put you in jail. There are reasons why you get punished, right? If you're not punished, anybody could be bad. That's why it's so important to raise children the right way, because if you don't do that, if you don't give punishments, if you don't allow yourself to be the bad guy, I'm the bad parent, I'm the one who punishes, right? If you're not willing to do that, because it's not fun. It's fun to just say, oh, let him do everything. But then you don't do your job. Your job. You have things to do on this earth, and you have short, limited time to do them. And they're in little windows, and they're over. If you don't raise your children properly, then you can't go back and change that. You really failed of one of your main things as a human being. Especially if you were raised properly. And it's like, there's no excuse for that. No, the acceptance of that one is a very painful one. But I think these are all cathartic and very important to admit to yourself who you are and your mistakes. It might have been because you were drinking. It might be because you had some problem. It's that once you accept it, then you start to say, wait, I'm fucking stopping. You know what I mean? Like, this is fucking bullshit. I'm not going to let myself, and I tell myself this all the time, I'm not going to let myself and my little weaknesses make my life into a fucking joke. Like, I'm going to stand up and tell the truth in my life about myself, no matter how fucking hard it is. And I'm going to make a change. And it is not, in the end of the day, when you fucking make a decision like that as a dad, and you say, or as a man, and you say, I'm going to fucking accept this. And this is the way it is. I know it's ugly, but I'm going to change the things that made me do this. Whatever weakness you had. People take advantage of weaknesses, and it's kind of, any kind of bribery. It's usually a weakness for some people. It's even a weakness for praise, or for pomp and circumstance, or for expensive jewelry, or time on TV, or a beautiful woman, right? Or of course, money in the bank, a house. There's many reasons why you can become corrupt. But I'm not into fucking corruption. I don't bribe people. Even I lived in the third world. I don't fucking bribe. And it is not easy to not bribe people. You have to be willing for people to take shit away from you and not be allowed to get into countries because you can't bribe the guy. I'm just not into it. I realized long ago that when you go down the bribing route, they have power over you. And I personally would rather be poor than have someone control me. And a lot of people will say, oh, it just makes sense. You got to be more rational and adult about this and just give the guy a few bucks. I'm not saying I guess it could depend on a few things, as far as like a visa or whatever. But I really choose I'm not stupid, okay? But I choose the route of truth and the route of pain over having someone who has power over me. Because you have constant threat of jail. I don't like that. I had that as a kid. Fuck that. You give me the punishment. If you're gonna come and threaten me, then let's just get it over with. Like, come over now. Like, I want this to be done. I want to have a free heart in my life. Whether it's a threat from another person or a threat from whatever, losing everything. Let's get it on. Let's get it over with, because I want to clear my mind, the desk in my mind. I want to be free. And then those things don't make you free. Those things that Biden is doing, that taking money and covering up crack whore son and lying, those things to me are slavery, misery. And you look on his face and you can see that he's just and he's an angry guy. I remember there was an old interview with him. It was like a town hall meeting. I'm sure you can find it. But there was a woman said something, and he called her a dog-faced woman. He called a woman, like in public, like a voter. He called her a dog-faced woman. And when I saw that, I was shocked. Because a lot of people I like to talk about the truth about women on this channel, right? And a lot of people would think I'm a certain way. But I'm actually very smooth, actually, with women. And that's what really confuses people. But it all makes sense when you really put the pieces together. But the thing is when I heard him say that, I realized that she had touched a nerve in this guy. And I realized that he was a junkyard dog. There's what I call junkyard dogs. Some women are just junkyard dogs. They are a certain way. When I say junkyard dog, I grew up in a trailer park, right? I know what a junkyard dog is. A dog who, when he flips, okay, he is just absolutely crazy. He's just he's just attacking and chewing through ropes or chains or whatever. He'll rip the chain. He just eat a whole fucking chair. A junkyard dog is just somebody who can be flipped into this utter animal state, just absolute insanity. And it's just like, it can just happen on a moment's notice. Like they have no way to control themselves. They're completely, like broken individuals. But they've been threatened and fought so many times that they don't care. Like they just don't care about their own personal safety. They just attack. They don't care about the future. They're just going to say the meanest things right fucking now. They're going to attack you physically. They're just junkyard fucking dogs. And there is a type of person. And it comes through trauma and misery and poverty. And, junkyard dogs, they're just the way they are, man. You got to think twice before you fight a junkyard dog. Just think twice. I'm not saying you should never take down a junkyard dog. But man, you better be ready, man. The junkyard fucking dog, I don't care if he's 1/3 your size. That guy, he does not give a shit. He does not care. And he's done it before. He's just ruthless. Like he's going to do whatever it takes. Just does not care. Most people care like about their own health or whatever. Junkyard dog, he fucking just, his life has been so fucking bad and so hard that it's the only way, I guess, for him is just to explode, When I heard Biden talk like that, I immediately thought junkyard dog. I'm like, that is junkyard dog situation there. Because that woman she was just disagreeing with him. Like it was a public debate or whatever. It was like he was speaking and she said something. He didn't know her. You know what I mean? It wasn't like dog-faced woman. I couldn't believe he ever was elected again for anything. If I was Trump, I would just keep playing that clip. It's on the internet of him just calling that woman a dog-faced woman. That was, when someone says a word like dog-faced woman, that means he said it before. Like, you don't just make that up. Like that's a old school, small town fucking, that's not like a common term, right? Like we use other words now. Dog, that right there is, that is an insight into his character, like how he was raised, where he was raised, and how he lived, how he chose to live. Because some people like me, we're raised in a certain way, but we turn our back. We don't want that. And we really make, essentially, we see the flaws in that way of living and just say, no, like I don't care. I'm not going to live that way. I understand it, but I'm not going to live that way. I'm just not going to do it. No matter what. That's not me. I choose to go this direction. This is my life. And it's that kind of, when you decide who you are, a lot of life is flowing with things that you're good at. But sometimes you got to decide, like, who am I, right? Who the fuck am I? Really, who am I going to be? Am I going to be a guy who covers up shit and lives this weak, stupid ass life? And I don't care how long you've been doing something. It's just like, am I going to do this? Is this going to be my life? On my tombstone, am I going to do this? And it's like, once you see the dirt, you're like, fuck that. Nope. Whatever it takes, what the dirtiest thing is to keep doing that. It's not to admit, the fault or whatever, the fuck. It's like, and back to the truth about this is, it's very obvious to me that this man is corrupt, right? And everything was, his whole life was taking bribes. It's all on paper. It's all in the bank books. And he is, I believe the truth. I believe he's a traitor. I believe that what I think, here's what I think, is that I think Hunter Biden is just a regular drug addict who had a powerful father. And I think that he needed money for drugs. And so he realized his dad had a lot of influence. And so he started to slowly kind of like, I know people like how you sell influence. It's kind of like this. It's like if you ever had like a really rich friend, if you say you're going to go meet them, right? All of us, your friend will be like, oh, I'm too busy tonight. I'm tired, this and that. But if you say, I'm going to go meet this guy, all of a sudden they say, oh, I guess I could go out, It's because people really want to be near people like that. It's like they want, like you can sell influence. Influence is very easy to sell, actually. Like I have a lot of, like, you guys know, like friends that are movies, TV, wealthy, technology heads, and I've just made a lot of friends in Yakuza, like mafia people. Like I have friends in top level people in triads, different bands. They just come across them, became friends, and they didn't mean anything. We're not doing anything. It's not like it's just, you know, somebody, right? I know a lot of people. I have friends, and I don't judge people. So I have a lot of friends doing all kinds of stuff, right? And when I am going out with them, people get excited. They do. And I'm not saying they shouldn't. They just do. And I've realized that you can sell influence in many ways. And the dirty part of having friends that are powerful is that you don't want to be that guy selling influence. And a lot of, for me, knowing wealthy, rich people was accepting that I don't want anything from them. Like, I'm not trying to sell their influence. I'm not trying to make money from them. I enjoy being friends with people who have different experiences, who are talented. I gain from being friends with people. And that's it. That I've accepted, that's it. I'm not getting anything from them ever, and that's the way it is. And that clears my mind, my desk. I feel great about that. Because they know that he doesn't want anything, or Ronin doesn't want anything. Like, I can be safe with this guy. He's not envious. He's like, I'm not envious. I'm not jealous. I don't want money. I don't steal. I'm not a thief. And I don't want anything from them. And I don't sell their influence. And most people have weaknesses that they let fester. And that's why rich, powerful people don't like to hang out with other people that aren't rich and powerful. But if they meet somebody like me, then they kind of introduce me to other people who's like, hey, this guy's cool. Like, don't worry, this guy's cool. Like, we're bring this guy along. This guy's fucking great. Known him for 30 years, you know. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, he's that kind of guy. Oh, okay. Because it's rare. But they know people like me exist. Like, I don't want anything from them. I don't even like envy them. You know, like I understand they're in their own situation and I'm in my own situation. And I think it's very interesting what their situation is. I'm very, very interested in hearing what they learned about life and how their unique experiences have allowed them to understand life and to see the truth. And it's just refreshing to meet people that aren't just all the same level of economic status as you. It's very, very interesting. It will teach you a lot about life and just having friends from various classes. And so for me, I find it very fascinating. I find them very fascinating because they're unique fish, you know, and how they navigate, you know, and I can leave it at that. And that's it, you know. But the dark road of having powerful people is what Biden went down. And that is starts out with the emotional selling of, you know, influence. But it leads to greater things because eventually money comes up, right? And if you have a drug addiction problem, you need money every day. And especially if you have like a kind of a prostitute, hotel, and drug addiction together and fancy car, that combo right there can go through a lot of fucking money. Like, your weakness can eat up whatever amount of money you have. So, for example, you might go to Vegas. You can gamble 25 cents, right? There's still probably a slot machine that takes a quarter. But you can also gamble the same one gamble. You can gamble any amount of money. Like, I don't know what the biggest bet in Vegas has ever been. I'm sure it's not public. But I'm sure there's been like a $500 million bet for sure. Like on a hand of poker. And it's over in like a minute and a half. Right? I'm sure they drag it out when it's that big. But that's it. Flip the cards. Who's got a higher, you know, who busted, you know, done. Right? So no matter how much money you have, you can just lose it due to personal weaknesses. So cleaning up your weaknesses is really important because those weaknesses are what lead you down the dark road. Those weaknesses. Like if Biden was not a crack addict, he probably wouldn't be selling influence the same level. And then his dad is the one that's really the problem, because he's the one who allowed it to happen. There's that record of him calling during the meetings with the corrupt people who gave his son bribes, right? And it was like 40 times, right? He claimed he didn't know anything about it, Meanwhile, he called during the meetings. When I can tell you this, like, I know a lot about influence from my friends. When you sell influence and the rich guy calls during the meeting, that is not an accident. The rich guys, they just don't fucking do that. In fact, they fucking hate that kind of stuff. They will never even hang out with you again. They'll disown their own son if he's doing that. Like, it's just very tiresome for a rich guy, because he knows he has influence, but he also knows he has responsibility for that influence. And he knows that he's not forever in the position. He needs to be a decent person. Otherwise, he's fucked, right? But the person is not elected, like the deep state and like Biden, Hunter Biden. He's not elected, but he has a lot of power and access. So it's very tempting for these kind of guys to get very corrupt, because they're not really elected. They're just kind of in there, and they know it might not last. And they're like, I better sell my influence, like, somehow, right? Get this influence to get this investment, or get this, not caring about the people. I care about my friends. I don't want them to do bad. I don't want them to be at risk. If they want to do that, they can go do it on their own. I don't want to be part of that, right? I've decided years ago, I don't want anything. I'm happy just being me. I'm Ronin. I fucking cruise around. People like to be around me. I like to be around them. It's all fucking good. People don't play the game. People are full of shit. I'm fucking out of there. Like, I ain't staying around. I ain't playing that game. I ain't allowing myself. Like, I don't play games in my mind, and I won't allow you to do it when we're very close, because otherwise I kind of have to play along. I have to agree with you. Otherwise, it's like calling you on things. I can't. I have to just say, okay, well, this is one of these situations. I got to get out here. This person is kind of stuck on this. So I think what is really interesting here is we have a corrupt president who gets 10% of bribes. We have a drug addict's son. We have a man who can't walk, a man whose brain is demented. We have a group of people around him. This is not about who's running for president, because now that they're going to replace Biden with Newsom or something, that is not what needs to be done here. Every person who believed this deep state lies, and you see some people doing it, like Jon Stewart. You see people like who say, you know what? I'm tired of this. It's not true. Like, the truth, this is not the truth. This is bullshit. This is bullshit that I've been doing, that people around me have been doing, supporters. Like, I am going to not do this. Like, I am against this. And a lot of times, when you become quite against it, you go the other way, because, like, you smoked for 30 years and you quit, and then you realize how bad it is, and you can become an anti-smoker. And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people do that for a period of time. It's okay. It's okay. It's natural. It actually is natural. Allow yourself to go through the healing process and the natural thing, until you find your balance. And you will find, if you're looking for the truth, you're going to find your balance. But I think as a country, we need to say, and I think as other people outside the country, is that this guy was corrupt. And I think also other things need to be really talked about too. Like, Trump said he was indicted on like 40 something felonies, but like no one can describe like what he actually did that was so bad. Like, he didn't harm anybody, didn't steal any money. It's one of these things where, by the letter of stupid laws, like, no, that's not how the country works. No. This was what's called lawfare, and so he was basically. Biden is so fucking corrupt that he's willing to corrupt the democratic process by prosecuting his competitor in order to stop him from running and put him in prison. Like, that is a level of corruption that I think is unacceptable. I think everybody should vote Trump. I really do. I think everybody with a brain, and I mean, like, even people who really hated the guy, there really is no choice. And the reason is, it's not just because of the Trump-Biden thing, because they might bring in another Democratic guy. The thing is that the Democratic Party needs to be cleaned out. Like, it's so corrupt at this point. And the same thing happens in history with the Republican Party. It's so corrupt at this point that everything is just gaslighting. And we need 8 years, where, or even 12 years, Trump for 4, then 8 for somebody else, where things can get cleaned out. The Democrat Party has sold their soul. And they're just lying to themselves and you. And all the stuff they brought in, critical race theory, the family courts, kidnapping children. There was a lot of stuff that came in when the king was dead. And this stuff is just poison. And we got to get it out of the U.S. military. We got to get it out of the system. We got to get it out of the government, most importantly. And that means people need to be fired. That means people need to be replaced, because these people that are brainwashed, they can't be changed, unfortunately. They can change on their own, but they can't be changed. So you got to get rid of them, let them go through their process of poverty and decide who they are and clean their own lives up and then be ready for action later. But you can't let people are ruining whole companies with these ideas. The woke ideas are just destroying companies like Disney. You can't get them to change. You need to fire them. They need to be gone. That's what happens when, in the U.S. political system, when one party comes in, the other party really doesn't have money and jobs. And that's what needs to happen. And a new generation of honest Democrats needs to come up. And I can tell you, I have a lot of friends that are just Democrats to the core. I think the Democratic ideas, of like the balance of the two is good. I really do. I think that's the beauty in the system is there's two viewpoints. Both have truth in them. A lot of truth to both. Sometimes people are down on their luck. They need help, right? Other times, the most important thing is there's competition. So good rise to the top. So the best ideas succeed. The best idea wins. That's a Republican idea, right? But the Democrat idea is like, well, if somebody's like can't eat and she's 65 and 80 and 90, someone needs to give her some fucking food, right? And that's also true, right? The ideas balance themselves out, right? I think they're both good. I'm not against the Democratic Party at all, but I'm against corruption. And I believe it's gotten so corrupt that we need a change in this society. We really need, like, if you look at like what Newsom's done to California, like the truth needs, the gaslighting is over. It's time to just the truth, and to clean up the cities. It's insanity what's happening. And the people in power that are believing these lies, they really have to be voted out or fired in companies. Or allow them to like drive Disney into bankruptcy, right? Where it sells the parks to somebody, China or whatever. And then it's gone forever, right? Like a cultural icon, That kind of happens naturally too. Bad ideas destroy companies and they cause the assets to be sold off and broken up. So that's another way that society does fix things. But it's a tragedy that you allow somebody who didn't build something to destroy it to the end. I think, although that in the end can be a healthy process, like a tree falls down and it rots and becomes dirt and then another tree. But I think some certain icons, the icon should be saved and the people should be gone. Yeah. So I think it's time to just kind of like breathe in. It's not about US. It's about the truth. And the truth can be, can be shown to us in many ways. This time it's been shown to us to a king is dead situation. And the king is dead. He's not running the country. That is true. And he is corrupt. He is the big guy. His son's a crack addict with whores and guns. He's a junkyard dog. He's absolutely not what he was presented as. He's allowed to be all those things. But what's not allowed is people to let him do that and to cover it up. That is where the real dirt, that is what really needs to be done. That's the job right here now. For your mind first. Your understanding, like me in debating, really understanding how things work will lead to good things. Trust that. The power of your own Like just you as an entity, as a being, understanding the truth and accepting it. No emotions, just really, I mean, you have emotions, of course, but I'm not saying no, but you're just looking at it. You're willing to change. You're like, oh, nope, that's the way it is. Holy shit. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not going to waste any time rebuilding castles in the sky, right? It's like, nope, that fucking castle fell out of the sky last night and it ain't going to get put it together back in there, not in any rational person's mind. So it's time to say, well, time to rebuild. And you will, maybe you can influence politics. Maybe you won't. But I think the more people are searching for truth and accept truth and live truth, it leads to good things in society. Following lies, if nothing else, living a good life, okay, which is really what I'm talking about. Living a good life does not allow evil thing in, okay? So it's not that it changes it for the better. It's what you're supposed to do. It's the way it's supposed to be. And evil can come in if people don't live that life, right? So it's not like being a good person and understanding everything is going to make things perfect. What it's going to do is make life good, tolerable. But it's always ready to fall apart. That's the way life is. It doesn't become nirvana, and it's not supposed to. It's a never-ending struggle. In the end, we die, right? It's a struggle against the outside forces, against the cold in space, against the tsunami, against the earthquake, against life, against aging. It's a struggle. And the best we get is like a great life as we struggle against our weaknesses and the lies. And then in the end, we feel like as an old man that lived a good life, you're like, fuck yeah, I was ready. I was up for it. I was not a force for bad. I was a fucking force for good. I'm going to end on that.